Hi, everybody. My name is Jen, and I'm here with my friend Anna.
Hey,
Hey, Anna.
hey guys.
So, Anna and I were discussing a number of different topics, but one of the ones that really stuck out to me was our shared interest with murder mysteries, true crime, Netflix documentaries about all of those types of, you know,
Serial killers,
exactly,
dark romance novels,
100%.
the whole spectrum.
And the idea started stemming around like, why are we as human beings and also women
hmm
so fascinated with darkness? So our topic for today is just that, where
Yep,
we're going to talk through that idea of why are people actually fascinated by these, treacherous tales, these stories of like horror.
and it's been made in the entertainment industry like it's so profitable for a reason. Since we're not the only ones, obviously.
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
So, do you have, you know, what do you think is that initial? What's the initial thought of that?
So I think it's a culmination of a few different things, but first and foremost, and probably the most obvious, is just sheer curiosity. Um, when we hear all of these stories about people doing terrible things, it's what led them to that. Like, for me, it's taking it from the beginning. What made them the way that they are? Like, I want to make sense of the senseless
Mm.
almost. So going back to childhood, like, was it someone's upbringing? Was it genetic? Did something traumatic happen to them that made them this way? And I think all of that curiosity also leads to, like, we want to have answers for these things and forward thinking, like, can someone be cured? Is this
Mm.
preventable? Is it fixable? Um,
I mean, there's so much to it.
yeah,
I think you know, you named probably seven different things that could lead a person down that pathway.
definitely.
But that doesn't necessarily mean because of those factors they have to go that way.
Definitely.
So, does that in itself say anything about like us as humans? I mean, do we think, I don't know, this is such a vast conversation.
Yeah. It's almost to like all of our brains, we all have a human brain. What wire is off in someone else's that can make them act so rashly? But then also knowing your brain has the same thing in it too. Like
Yeah.
it could be possible for anyone. What is it that led someone to do this? But it's curiosity about the people themselves that are committing these heinous crimes and what led them to it and what was going through their brain while they were doing it, after they were doing it. But it's also from a victim perspective, especially as a woman. And I think that will take us down like a completely different rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But as a viewer, a listener, a reader, it almost is like learning how to, like, you're reading all of this and learning about it in a safe environment, but it's almost like preparing you. If I was ever in this situation, this is helping me in a way.
Yeah. So it's almost like a survival training from the
Yes,
safety and comfort of your own home.
definitely.
So, like, you and I could be sitting on this couch watching a Netflix documentary and then learning a little bit about maybe some of those cues or things to
hmm
potentially look for when you're interacting with other people.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I imagine people have high charisma.
Yes. And that's why it could be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. Like, we know each other, and I'm someone who like likes to be in control. I like to know the future, everything. So it's almost like a preparation thing
Mm,
for me. Like, if I was ever in this situation, I have at least some sort of background and knowledge that could help me get out of it. But ignorance is also bliss. So it's not really a great way to go about life, always being on high alert and looking out for things like that, like
yeah.
predators, whatever. But that's also,
Yeah.
I think, inherently just a part of being a woman in society, which is really unfortunate to say, but I think it's the truth.
That fear you're talking about.
Yeah, and always feeling like you need to be on alert and not really being able to trust anyone. And I
Mm,
think having a deep love and like curiosity and watching all these true crime documentaries, books, podcasts, what have you, it makes you have a higher distrust for people because you know people are capable of putting up this facade and being so inherently evil behind closed doors.
That's fascinating. So, do you think it's a detriment to us that we have this type of content so easily available at our fingertips?
I think yes and no. Like I think there are pros, like we said, you know what to look out for, but yeah, it also does put you more on edge where the odds of something like that happening to you obviously are lower and you shouldn't live life in fear.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is good to know what's out there and be prepared because in reality, stuff like that does happen all the time. And you always say, well, it can't happen to me until it actually does.
Yeah. Do you think there's a component of it where we're really trying to make sense of this like unknown? I mean, to stuff that you've been saying as well, it's so far from a life that we're living and leading. So it's this other type of, experience. And are we maybe trying to make sense of it as well beyond just that survival?
Definitely. I mean, I think that's like the definition of human curiosity, just in general, is we want to understand things that we don't understand currently. And I think that's why it is so interesting to so many people. It's why psychology and like human psychology is so interesting to so many people. But a lot of the things we don't have answers for, and we might never have answers for, and you can attribute it to different life factors, whether it's nature or nurture. But at the end of the day, I think some people just act on impulses that a lot of people have, but morality keeps us from acting on them. And some people just don't have that. And that's scary.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you did mention before this idea of like how we're wired. Do you feel that some people are just wired differently, or everyone is somewhat wired similarly? They have, we all have this little bit of a dark side, but some people just act on it versus others choose to keep it more like confined.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's both. I think we all definitely have those parts of our brains in ourselves. And that's why when we are engaged with things like true crime or hearing about these gruesome, heinous crimes, it's a way for us to experience it from the safety of our home. And like it is opening that part of our brain that's curious about that darkness. But the people that act on it, like a lot of people don't have that because they have a moral code and like being able to understand right from wrong and thinking something's interesting,
Yeah.
but obviously,
Yeah.
not killing
I
someone.
mean, that's where my head went back again to what we talked about. There's just so many variables here. Like, it's not only moral compass, but it's also like neurological or, your ethics. I mean, there's so many things. And you mentioned as well environment, what a
Yeah.
person experiences as they're raised, could potentially lead them to almost being conditioned in a way that could also create this type of a situation.
Yeah.
So,
But I think even the fact that we're having this conversation like proves that we all have that part of our brain. Like you think of people doing terrible things, but then look at us as consumers, we're feeding into it. We want to know more about it. It's
mm-hmm.
intriguing to us. We're
Yeah.
drawn to it. And that's also kind of terrifying in itself, but we're human. So,
Yeah, 100%. Well, when you watch these shows or, read about it, do you tend to gravitate toward the victim or, the person who's actually creating the crime themselves? Is there something that you're trying to understand? Maybe the
yeah,
criminal?
I think there's so many layers to it. Like, obviously, the perpetrator, you want to understand why they're doing it, what brought them to do it, you know. But then from a victim perspective too, yeah, how are they handling it? And as a human, we read things, we watch things to invoke emotion in ourselves. And it's like you're getting
Mm,
everything in one. You're feeling empathy for this
mm.
person that's going through it. You feel joy when justice is served at the end. Hopefully, I personally like ones that have an ending. I don't like,
Yeah.
the unsolved cases.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's invoking all of these different things in one sitting, let's say, or a week, whatever. you're enjoying podcast show, whatever it might be, you're going through all of it from a safe distance, either virtually or in the comfort of your home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a mix of both, understanding both perspectives, but I think that also it depends on the person that you're talking to.
100%. I mean, I think that's a really good point to bring up is a lot of the crimes actually do go unsolved.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a draw to that? Do you think people are attracted to that component of it? I mean, I these mysteries can go 10, 20, 30 years never getting a solution. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think people that enjoy those is the same thing, like being drawn to the unknown and like things that don't have answers. It's human nature to want to put an answer to it, find a solution. So I think that's why a lot of people like things like cold cases, or it almost gives like a sense to, you have all of this information. Is there anything I can do? It's almost like a vigilante perspective. Whereas personally, I like the ones that come full circle, so I can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
justice being served, people being thrown in jail, and then, when it is real cases, I like to know what
Yeah.
happened to them to make sure they got it.
Well, there's so many shows nowadays that, do come full circle
Yeah.
and people do end up in jail, but then you often find that person wasn't actually the person who committed the crime.
Yeah.
So then how does that make you feel at that point when you've watched that progression and
Yep.
then it turns out, oh, this person was wrongfully committed?
And that is a horror story within itself. That is true crime within itself, but it's the system.
Ooh, Inception.
Right? Like
Yeah.
the perpetrator turns into the justice system,
Ooh.
who is framing someone or putting them away wrongfully without enough evidence. And that, I think, appeals more to people who are looking at things from a legality perspective, yeah, that's a horror story itself.
That's fascinating. I never really thought about how it's just this cycle.
And that's another thing that happens literally all the time. So I think when you're reading, listening, watching things like that, that's what's appealing, because you're not in that situation. Someone else suffered from this, and you're learning about it from a distance, just in case it ever does happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you can also decide, like, how do I feel about what it is that I'm looking at or reading or watching? And is there something within me that, needs to do a little bit more? Maybe that is a catalyst for me to go and volunteer in a certain organization or learn more about this, maybe become a lawyer to help those people who are wrongfully, accused.
Yeah, it could motivate you in different ways, for sure.
Do you think that, like, there's anything larger happening here? Like, what we're experiencing is a part of this larger picture that maybe we aren't seeing?
I mean, I could talk a lot. I don't want to get political in any way, but I think the state of the world today, as a nation, as a planet, as a human race, I think morality is slipping through the cracks, and people can put morals to the side to, do or say certain things. And I think when we look into different cases in true crime, it is a way of looking at a clear-cut way to distinguish good from bad, and like pinpointing what is evil, because we want to feel moral ourselves. So watching something so heinous, as a viewer, being like, okay, I would never do that, this is insane, this person is obviously unhinged. It gives you your own sense of morality, like, I'm a good person. And I think it's just something that generation after generation is kind of starting to dwindle.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really interesting point as well, is it's almost giving us our own guidelines. Like, where do I want to fall on this spectrum?
Yeah.
Is that something that, is maybe something I could partake in? Or is that something completely outside of anything I want to touch? And then, like, I basically choose another path, a path that's of a higher standard, I guess, for your personal self.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of it too just boils down to, like, if most people in their lifetime have been a victim of something, right? So it's understanding why Like if you weren't the problem, it's understanding why, what happened to this person, or what is wrong with this person and what led them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do these horrific things happen in the world? Because they are so senseless.
Yeah.
Is there any way to prevent it? A lot of times, in my opinion, there is in certain cases and there's not in certain cases.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think seeing different examples of it gives you a sense of control, being someone at home watching, but a lot of it is just unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's also an interesting thing to talk through is, this idea of actions being classified as wrong or people being bad. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, society has these standards themselves, and we're defining actions in a type of way when in reality, that's just based on like how we're our environment.
Yep. And is that person always to blame, or is it the cards they were dealt that made them that way?
Yeah. Very, something to definitely ponder.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you think people may want to like know about when it comes to this type of idea?
Um, I think if you're into this stuff, like you get exactly what we're saying. I think for people who maybe aren't super thrilled by true crime or things like that, might wonder like, yeah, why people like me and you like it. Think about like going on a roller coaster, for instance. It's controlled fear. Like you know
Mm,
that you're safe, but you're doing it for the thrill. You have a safety belt on. It's
mm,
kind of the same thing in
that
a
is.
way. Like you're seeing all of these really high adrenaline situations, but you know at the end of the day you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Or you're prepared. If anything
Yeah.
were to happen, you know what signs to look for. Maybe to trust your instincts a little bit more. I
Yeah.
think that's a huge component of it as well. Are we following, our internal guidance that's telling us, I feel uncomfortable in this situation. Something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
If we're not necessarily leaning into those feelings, 100% something could happen that's not, in our best interest. But
Mhm.
maybe the more that we like trust our instincts and our intuition, by, God's grace, nothing ever happens,
Yeah.
but, we could really be in a better place if we did do that.
Yeah. And I agree, and I think there's a spectrum to that too. Like it definitely helps you be hyper aware of your surroundings and different interactions and people's motives, but there's only so much of that you can do to yourself to a fault.
Yeah.
Like there will be times where I'm in the city, for instance, and someone is simply asking me how to get to a coffee shop. But in
Yeah.
my head, I'm like, this man wants to kidnap me. He's going to hold me hostage for weeks. But like my mind goes there because of all of the fucked up shit that I've been exposed to
Yeah.
on my own
Yeah.
accord because I find it entertaining. And then it also affects how I see society because I can't trust anyone.
That's so fascinating. Is that immediately where your head goes when a stranger comes up and asks you for information?
Usually. And I'm like a very, like, I will respond very cordially, bubbly, inviting almost,
Yeah.
but in the back of my head,
Yeah.
that is always
There's
my
always that
thought.
little bit of a voice
Yeah.
saying, okay, something, be prepared.
Yeah. I mean, and that's in all walks of our lives. Going for walks every day, going for runs, like always looking over your shoulder. And that's not even if you're involved in really like true crime. I feel like that's just being a woman in general. Like,
Yeah.
that those things happen all the time and it's terrifying.
Well, not to live your life in fear. So
Yeah.
let's try to.
Sorry. Sorry, everyone. You'll be okay.
I mean, I think you're making some really valid points. I think those are things we should be, considering, but that shouldn't be debilitating or,
Yes.
preventing us from living a life that we want to lead.
Agreed.
So, if anything, this gives us direction and guidance towards what we should and shouldn't be focused on and how to hopefully, have a better experience.
Yeah. And just a better understanding of not only ourselves and what we think is right or wrong, but other people who might do good or bad things,
Yeah.
where they're coming from. I think that's a big part of true crime too.
And I think that's also, one less important point, but like what you see as right or wrong might not necessarily be the same as like what I see as right or
Yep.
wrong. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that we can learn and accept that that's the case, but have these conversations about these types of topics, I think the better everyone would be.
Definitely. And I think that's also what makes the true crime genre so profitable, is because people have built communities around discussing these things and
Yeah.
having, educated conversations about it and sharing their opinions on different things. And I think people find a sense of togetherness in it, which is kind of crazy to say because it's something so horrible, but people can, make it into a safe place, which is kind of ironic.
Well, I think a lot of people are seeking out that community
Yeah.
and connection. So even if it is a bad thing, you kind of like group together around that.
Definitely.
Well, thank you, Anna. This is so wonderful.
This was great. We could keep going for hours.
I know we could.
We won't bore everyone with another 45 minutes of us.
I appreciate your time.
Into it. Of course, thank you for having me.
And for anybody who chooses to listen to this, we appreciate you. And we look forward to
talking about something else,
another topic that you're all interested in. Feel free to give us a topic. Well, we'd be happy to talk it through with you guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.